Uh, Welcome to the Community Preservation Act Committee, Thursday, May 4th, 2023. It is 7:02 p.m. Please be advised that this meeting is being recorded by WRPS and may be available for playback at WRPS website or their YouTube channel. Motion to call the meeting to order.
Motion to call meeting to order.
All right, second.
Second. Second.
Tom, thanks, Joe. Charlie? You're muted, pal. I'll take the head nod as a yes. Joe?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Pete?
Yeah.
And myself.
Sorry, I was having a little technical difficulty.
Thank you. I do want to, because we're going to lose Pete, and right now, if we lose him, we lose a quorum. We're going to lose him around 8 o'clock. So I want to take the agenda out of order and take item 6 first, and then go on order from there. Can I hear a motion to take item 6 first?
Motion.
Second.
Charlie. Tom. All right, Charlie,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
and myself is unanimous. All right, so item 6 is to pay for the environmental assessment invoice that we received for the Carey Street property. Doug had that done to do our due diligence. Unfortunately, we're not able to move this article at town meeting. And so we do need to pay this separately from administrative funds. Total cost is $2,650. And I just realized I'm not sharing my screen. To share the screen. All right. Sharing. So it's Green Environmental. They did a site assessment, which I'm not sure if I sent you guys, and if I have, my apologies. But the assessment essentially detailed. I think we did show it a little bit. It detailed the state of the parcel, a little bit of the history of the parcel, and we know that there's some automotive work happening there, so it was prudent to get that done. And it recommended a phase 2. We didn't move forward with that because the deal fell through. So just need a motion to accept, and then Tom can pay the bill. Do we hear a motion to pay the invoice from administrative funds?
I'll make that motion. I think that was definitely money well spent, considering what went on in that property in the past.
Second.
Um, 2650. Charlie with the motion, Tom with the second. All right. Joe,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Charlie,
Yes, correct.
Tom,
Yes.
and myself. It's unanimous.
John's here too. Yes.
Oh, John, welcome. Thank you. All right. So now back in order. We are here to conduct interviews. We have 3 interviews. We are going to take Christine first, as she has a hard stop at 7:15. And then we'll go through it. I don't really want to share their information on a broadcast. I think that's prudent. Keep people's personal information private. But I did share all that information with all of you. You should have it. And so we're going to Christine McPherson first. Christine, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and your work history?
So I've been with the town of Rockland since 2015. I started in the assessor's office In 2018, I joined the planning board as their secretary. So everything that you guys are looking for in a person to do agendas and minutes and filing and keeping track of all of that. I do the warrants, I do the payroll, I do the legal ad for when we have public hearings. I take in all the applications. I processed the deposits that, the fees, the site fee, design fee, peer review fee. And I really like doing that.
Great. A little bit about the role, and I don't know how much HR has shared with all the applicants, but there is we have a backlog of minutes going back to July of, I think, 21 that we need to go through. Most of them are on YouTube, but I do have handwritten notes for the ones that aren't. I actually have handwritten notes for all of them, but getting them to a digital document that are easily readable is something that we haven't done. So we do need to go back and recoup those. And pay will be discussed once we, make our decision at a later date on how we cover that. But we are going to go with a stock standard rate, and it's slipping my mind right now what that is. But it's what we pay the majority of the administrative assistants for most of the planning boards. It's a monthly stipend, is my understanding.
Yes. Yeah, I did minutes when I was in the assessor's office. I was in there for just about 7 years. And obviously on planning, I do that as well. I take the minutes, I do the minutes, I do decisions. So I know what's expected, in that role.
Great. You're still doing planning board?
I am.
Okay. And you're with the fire department now?
I am.
You are.
Yep.
No
Yeah.
conflict there. I'm assuming they're all good with it, especially because you're doing planning board.
Yep. Nope. There's no conflict. None of the jobs run into each other. They all have different purposes, and it wouldn't be an issue.
Great. All right, I'll turn it over to one of the other committee members. If you'd like to ask some questions.
Sure.
Anyone?
Resume speaks for itself.
No, it does.
Oh, thank you.
And as I mentioned before, we will go into executive session at a later date to decide on this candidate, on who we bring on. Charlie, were you going to say something?
Nope, I'm good. Everyone has pretty impressive resumes. I mean, I do work with Christine on the planning board, and, I know that she does a great job with that. And I think she would do a great job here as well.
Great.
Kind of say the same thing, Steve. Worked along with Christine as far as anytime I had to go up when she was in the assessors. She was spot on everything up there.
Great. Any questions for Christine? All right. Hearing none. Christine, is there any additional information you want to share before we let you go?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm always available if there's obviously any questions, after this, after you meet with, the other two people, if there's questions that arise that you want to ask about, I'm available, to answer those or respond to those. It would be a great opportunity. I appreciate you letting me come on tonight to sort of learn a little bit about me. I did grow up in the town too, in Rockland and everything. So I'm very familiar with the town, with the roads. That would be, it's helpful.
Great. All right. If there's nothing else, we'll let you go and we will be in touch.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christine.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All righty. Next up, we're going to go to Joe Gervasi. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, Gervasi. Nice to meet you.
Gervasi, Gervasi, great. Welcome, welcome, and thank you for coming out here and expressing your interest. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Why don't you give us a little rundown of your career history?
Yeah, so well, thank you all for the opportunity to speak with you guys and for the consideration. I appreciate it. Right now, I'm currently working as a contract officer full-time with Northeastern University. It's basically intake, review, and negotiation of our industry partner contracts. Prior to that, excuse me, I'd worked over at the Broad Institute and Boston Children's Hospital for the last 9 years in grants and contracts management, which is financial management and also proposal management as well. During my earlier stages of my career, I did take meeting minutes, so I am familiar with what would be needed for the role. And, I think I have the organizational and prioritizational skills that could help you guys out, especially if you have, a decent backlog that you're trying to work through. I also am familiar with some software that I think could help you guys out if you're trying to get all this into one place, get everything streamlined, organized, and easily accessible to everybody as well. So honestly, just trying to look to supplement my income a little bit. I have the extra time, so I was looking around and figured I would see what would be available.
Great. Yeah, looking through this, very, very great resume here. I'd like to hear more about your grant writing experience.
So it wasn't grant writing, it was proposal preparation. It was
Oh, sure.
Yeah, sure. So basically, I would work with researchers at Boston Children's Hospital and all the affiliated institutions, not only in the Boston area, but throughout the country as well, submitting grant applications to any federal sponsors, NIH, NSF, any industries partners. We work with Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, specifically a lot of communication organizations as well, Verizon, AT&T, things like that. It would really be compiling all of the technical components along with any budgeting, as well, reviewing any of the funding announcements to make sure that we're in compliance with those terms and conditions before it's directly submitted to the sponsor. And that would be my role, is to work with the research teams to make sure that they're preparing all their documents correctly. And then the financial aspect of it, preparing budgets and all of that, would be solely my responsibility. And then I would actually submit to the agencies on behalf of Boston Children's, the Broad Institute, or Northeastern University.
That's great. All right, members of the committee, any questions for Joe?
So I was just reviewing his resume as well. Very impressive. Lots
Thank
going
you.
on there.
Yeah, busy.
I wonder if this is going to be a little bit too mundane, compared to looking at what you're used to doing.
I'm not here to judge on that. I mean, honestly, I'm working remotely. I think I should add that they kind of did away with our office space recently. So my commute is literally my living room to my bedroom where my office is located. So I have that extra time and flexibility. As I'm sure you guys all know, things are, getting increasingly expensive. So I've been trying to look for some ways to kind of add just a little bit of income here and there to try and, close the gap a bit. But I did look over the description. I know what it entails, and it's fine with me as long as, I can help you guys and also get a little bit of, extra income in return. It's a win-win for me. So no issue there on my end, at least.
Sure.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
I should ask this of Christine, but kind of assume that she's okay because it's she lives in Rockland. But any issue if we go to on-site meetings? I mean, right now we're mostly remote, but any issue with on-site meetings?
No, I live in Weymouth, so I'm not too far. My brother's over in Rockland, so pretty familiar with the area as well. Grew up on the South Shore, so no issue.
Yep. John's in an area he can't talk right now, but he did post in the chat and asked me to relay this. If you had to handle something during work hours, would your current role allow you to do that?
Yeah. So it's nice that we have the flexibility to kind of set our own schedule. It's not like you have to clock in or clock out or anything like that. As long as, you wake up, you get your work done, you log off and your work's over with. I'm pretty in control of my own schedule. So it would be no issue. No.
Great.
Yeah, that was a good question.
That's a great
'Cause
question, John. Thank
sometimes
you.
stuff will come up, during the day.
Yeah.
that we need to get taken care of. Not often, but it is a good question.
Yeah, it's not very often, but we do, getting something to the clerks. I mean, we can email most things, but some things require some in-person work. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
Any other questions for Joe? Hearing none. Joe, any parting words for the committee?
No, and thank you. No, thank you guys for all of your time. I appreciate it. If there's any follow-up questions or if I can answer anything else, so please feel free to reach out. Steve, happy to share my, email or phone number with anybody. I'm okay with that if anyone has any questions, but it was nice meeting you all. Of
Great. No, I appreciate that. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Joe.
Thanks for coming out.
course, have a great
Thanks.
evening.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
you. Moving on to our final candidate. Sorry. Is Karen Ann Ripley. Welcome. Thank you for your interest.
Thank you.
Same way, we're going to have you start by telling us a little bit about your career history.
I am currently Senior Administrator for Able Construction, which is right in Rockland. I'm on VFW Drive, actually in here now. I live in Rockland. So what I do here now is I oversee all the financial departments. So AR, AP, and payroll. And I'm also the mediator between our project managers and insurance companies. And just kind of assist the project managers in keeping their documentation correct and up to date. I worked for 15 years for a CPA in Canton until he passed away. I bartend on the side because it's fun and it's extra money.
Sure.
But yeah, just mostly most of my work has been in accounting. I started off with community outreach, but that didn't work out. I'm currently on the Charter Review Committee where I serve as the secretary for Rockland.
Okay.
So I did just finish my ethics training and I'm in the middle of doing the open meetings training that, is it Liza Landy sent?
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm in the middle of doing that. So I'm trying to I'm a single mom, my kid's older. I'm trying to get more involved with the town and also like the last person, little extra money. But I really like getting involved in the town. And now that I have more free time, I'm trying to get my way in there and learn a little bit at a time. So I'm trying to start small and work my way up.
Great. So you're currently the administrative assistant for the Charter Review Committee?
Yes.
That's great news. How long have you been doing that?
We just started we were appointed in October. So we started in November.
Okay.
And I did run it by the town administrator if this would be a conflict, and he said it wouldn't.
Yeah, no, it would not. It would not. I mean, unless we have meetings in the same night, but I think Christine has that same thing. But you know what? If we didn't have Christine, we wouldn't have Charlie either. So, but no, Charter Review is very important. I'm glad you're doing that. Just looking through here. I'm going to ask you the same question that John asked me to ask Joe. If something were to happen during business hours that needed to be done for CPC, would you have the flexibility?
Yep. Like I said, I'm right on VFW Drive and I live a block away from Town Hall. So I am very accessible.
Your employer wouldn't mind if you had to
needed.
step out to go
No.
get something done? Okay.
No, I come and go all the time.
No issue with the backlog I explained earlier, getting those done.
I missed the first
Sure. We have
8
a
to 10 minutes because I
okay.
had an appointment right
Sure.
before. So
we have a backlog of minutes. It is not our strong suit, not my strong suit. I do have handwritten notes. Most of our meetings are on YouTube. So I would work
Okay.
with the admin to get the ones done that aren't on video, but would share my notes to help you along with the YouTube videos to be able to get the backlog done. We're going to discuss how we pay that out. It's going to be more than the monthly stipend that I think most boards pay. But then after that, it would be a monthly stipend that, would assume a certain amount hours of work. And if it went above and beyond that, then we would discuss additional pay. But that is how talking to HR, that's how that would work. But we do have a significant backlog that we would expect to over time catch up to, but then keep current with ongoing meetings. Cause I don't want to to have that backlog continue. I'd like to, as we have meetings, get those submitted timely and then so on and so on. So no issue working through that.
No,
Great. Members of the committee, any other questions?
I'll ask the question that you asked. You have any experience on grant writing?
I actually do not.
No, I called that out on Joe because it was something highlighted in his resume that I thought was a little differentiator. But I do appreciate.
We don't either.
Yeah. No, we
I
don't.
write a lot of insurance claims. I don't know if that's the same, but I'm also asking for money for people who don't give it. Yeah.
Any other questions for Karen Ann? No. Any parting words for us?
Nope. Just thank you for meeting me. And thanks
No,
for
I-
letting me jump in a few minutes late. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. No, we
Not at all.
appreciate you. All right. Well, thank you again for coming out. We're going to meet, like I mentioned, we don't have it scheduled yet, but we'll go into an executive session at a later date and make a decision. We'll be in touch.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And then just because I don't think it's prudent to go into it in an open meeting to discuss candidates, I think we would need to debate that in executive session. And so I will be sending out a doodle for all of our committee for a time that hopefully we can all make it. And we'll make a decision. Sound good?
Yep.
That's good.
Going on to page 2, so let me get the heading going. All right, going on to item number 2. I'm going to clear these out so I don't have accidentally shared their information. We already did Carey Street. Let's go back here. And we are on to the Holy Family School Housing Project update. I'm going to share my screen again. And do we have representatives from that project?
Yes, you do. Myself, Sven Vandendongen, and Eric Kazarski from First Hartford, Tottenham.
Let me get your names down in the minutes here. Guests. So this is for Holy Family School. We have Sven Van Dungeon. Those are cool names, Sven.
Mouthful as well.
Eric. So Sven, Eric, and who else? Was that it?
That's
should
it.
be it.
Oh, okay. I
It's
saw.
funny, no one ever calls my name Cole. Most of the time, they don't even know how to pronounce it.
Kazarski, did I get it right?
Yeah, you got it.
Good.
It's more intimidating. It looks more intimidating than it is.
It is. It is. All right. So yeah, you guys, I know, so I'm going to brief the committee on our communications up to date, a little bit of an overview, and then I'll let you guys kind of dig into what you're looking for and what you're trying to do. So they did submit an application. I'll pull it up here. I believe February 23rd. I did relay that they missed our deadlines for the town meeting that just passed this Monday. Typically, we require our pre-apps in by 10/31 and our final applications in by 12/31. However, understanding that they need town funds, a town matching fund, in order to get some state grants. And this is very similar to the NeighborWorks projects that we did. They're requesting $100,000, similar to NeighborWorks. The difference between this, where NeighborWorks added 10 new affordable units, these folks are adding 27 new affordable units. I believe the entire property is going to be affordable, and they can correct me if I'm wrong. And talking to Doug and Jen after that to try to get some guidance, because I know this is time sensitive. I am of the mind that we allow this to go out of cycle for the hope that we have a special town meeting in the fall that they could then apply to, because there's 2 funding rounds, I believe. One that's coming up shortly, and then there's another one in winter of 24 that they're trying to meet. So they're going to miss this one, but winter of 24, we should be able to match and meet if we do have a special town meeting. And then otherwise, gentlemen, it would be our normal town meeting in about a year from now. But if we don't have the special town meeting, you would have had everything in time for that. With that, I'm going to turn it over to you to give us a little bit of an overview. And this package is very impressive. A lot of support from a lot of different committees and state reps. And so I will let you give us a brief overview of the project.
Thanks, guys. Sven, do you have some images that you can pull up?
I do. Give me one.
Let me give you, I think I have to give you privileges. There you
Give
go.
me 1 second to see if I can find them.
So guys, I am the director of development here, but caveat that this is day 4 for me, so I'm a little rusty.
No, that's
Not ru-
fine. That's
Not
fine.
rusty. I just haven't even been exposed to the sun enough to get rusty. So a rain. Sven and I are trying to. I literally just opened my laptop for the first time today. So, but yeah. So I'll just kind of talk a little bit about the project. This is the Holy Family Church and School and Rectory. We have an agreement with the Catholic Church to purchase the school component of it, and our plan is to preserve the historic school, which is a little crazy to me to think that something that's that young is actually considered historic, but it is.
What year?
I don't know the exact year. I want to say it was like in the 50s.
Okay.
I
No, I
believe
think it was-
it's 54.
But that's still young to me. So our plan is to basically work with the existing footprint of the building, preserve it, historically, so it's going to kind of look just the same. We'll clean it up and create 27 1-bedroom units within the entire complex. They will be limited to seniors 62 or older. So perhaps some of the residents will be former students. We are using historic tax credits to help finance this. So I know one of the things you guys that's important for your funding is to support projects that are saving historic buildings in town. And when we do that we do it right, i.e. that we follow the Secretary of the Interior standards for historic preservation. So because we are using tax credits to help finance it, that means that we will have to submit all our plans to the Park Service and get them approved so that we're doing things historically accurate. Sven, were you able to find something?
No, I'm looking through my folders for
All right.
pictures.
All right. I'm going to share my screen again, guys, until Sven,
Yeah,
you just
please.
interrupt me, let me know, and I will relinquish rights at that time.
So, so we have our financing assembled. The key piece, so the key thing here is that all of these projects, so the other piece that, you guys, other type of project you guys desire to fund is projects that provide affordable housing. So every one of these units will be designated affordable for someone making at 60% AMI or lower. There will even be 6 units that are designated for people that are at 30% AMI. So this is great. There's so many seniors that no longer afford to live in the town that they grew up in or raised their families in or worked in. This is a great opportunity for some of those seniors to be able to stay in town and have rents that are not taking 100% of their income every month. So we're really hitting 2 hot buttons on the CPA, which is the how affordable housing and preserving historic structures. I think, Steve, you had mentioned, we've gotten a lot of support. The town has been fully on board in terms of, the zoning on this. In terms of funding, tax credits are what is going to pay for a bulk of this project. And the tax credit, the state, DHCD has a rule that says we won't even consider your project until you have these 20, let's call it 20 threshold items done. And one of those threshold items they want to see is that there's some even token, small level of support financially for the project. So that is the reason why we're coming to you, is to get this small amount of money, what we think is small, perhaps it's big in your perspective, but get this money set aside or designated so that we can actually go into DHCD and get the funding that we need. We've talked to them, they've reviewed our application, they said this looks great, but you need the local match to make, before we can honestly consider an award. So we are so close. This is literally the last piece that we need in order to kind of get this thing over the finish line, at least from a funding perspective.
So here's some funding that they're referencing.
Yeah, so it's your typical alphabet soup. We put a little bit of our money in there. There's the tax credits for 8 million. So a $14 million deal, the tax credits are what pays the big bulk of it. There's some state low income tax credits. There's 2 million. There's the historic tax credits. There's also state historic tax credits. You can see 1.4 million there.
Mhm.
And a permanent loan, 1.67 million from Mass Housing.
Great.
Closes the gap. These deals are not, it's not like a typical, multifamily housing deal where they're, charging $3,000-4,000 a month in rent and can take out loans that, are $15-20 million. We restrict our rents, which means we often barely make enough money to cover the operating expense. And that's why you see that this $14 million project only generates a permanent loan of $1.7 million.
It's a noble effort for sure, especially going completely affordable. I appreciate that. What is your deadline for the fall 2023 submission for the winter 2024 funding?
So we have, like, you guys have a pre-app and then an app. Our pre-app is typically right around Halloween, right around 10/31.
Okay.
And if you guys have a town meeting, when is that typically?
I'm not sure. That's a Doug Lapp question. I've seen it be in September. I've seen it be as late as November.
Okay.
I'm not sure if this does pass our committee, because the next step for us would be then the full application. If it does pass our committee, if a letter from us would help with that to say, the committee's approved it pending affirmative vote at a town meeting, or if that doesn't do anything in the way, just I'm looking at all the letters that you guys have got from other folks and committees, if that's sufficient or not.
Okay.
So deadline is 10/31 for you guys.
That's my understanding. They haven't announced that yet, but that's typically every year.
That's the typical. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just going off the typical.
Yeah.
So that would kind of be the threshold we would need, if you guys did decide to grant us some funds, we would need that letter from you that says, congratulations, we have committed, X number of dollars to your project. We don't need to have closed on it. We don't need to have it funded. We just got to.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. We can't commit to funding until the public, because we are a town meeting government.
Yep.
And so funding can't be released and can't be guaranteed until the affirmative vote at town meeting or
Yep.
special town meeting.
Yeah.
But we could
So it
say,
sounds like that, that's fine, as long as we hit
Okay.
that, right? Yeah.
great.
And then you had mentioned something about a complete app. It was my understanding that this was
Oh, is
fallout,
it?
that's
You know what? I
typically-
didn't look at, typically that's the process that happens is you get the pre-app and then the full app, but now that I'm looking at it, this may be the full app. It is. It is the full app. The pre-app is a one pager.
I mean, we can certainly get you anything you need.
I may have you just fill out a pre-app just so we meet protocol. But it literally is a one pager. I wouldn't plan on submitting anything additional with it.
Okay.
This is, you've already submitted quite a bit and there's the rest of the committee, if you take the time to read this, this is a full narrative, answering every single question that's on that application. I think I got some communication from one of your partners or stating that you guys are reworking the budget and you may be resubmitting. Should we expect a resubmission of this, or is this the final submission?
We are updating the numbers some. They're always, moving and
Yeah.
every month that, we don't start construction, the contractors, price of piping goes up by 2 times or something like that. So we are kind of continuously tweaking the numbers. So we could, if you want, we could go through this and update the numbers just so they tie out with what we have.
Yeah, you don't need to redo it. Maybe if you just want to send in an addendum.
Okay.
So yeah, plan on an addendum and do that pre-app just so we're covering our bases.
Okay. Yeah, maybe just an updated budget, summary budget.
Yeah.
To where we are. All right, so if we get you that by early next week.
Yeah, time is on our side right now because they're not even talking about warrant articles for special town meeting at this point.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to do is, once we're done here, we'll probably bring you back a second time as we get closer and make that vote. I don't expect to do a vote on this today.
Okay.
But we'll continue to be in touch as well, via email. If you need a letter from us, sooner or later, we can certainly get together, take that vote. I would want the pre-app in before we take that vote. Have it be reviewed by the committee. And at that point, we could take the vote to recommend. And we could also take a motion to, write a letter in support and explain, where we are in the process. And hopefully by that time, we have clarity around when that special town meeting may be.
Okay.
And we
Can I
include
ask,
that in the letter.
can I ask, is there typically in years a special town meeting?
I would say over the last 10 years, 8 of those years, we've had a special town meeting. Then the rest of the committee, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's pretty typical we have one.
Well, we've had some different issues pop up over the years, obviously, and that's usually why we have a special meeting. I'm not sure, Steve, unless you're aware
So
of
I've
something.
talked to Doug about this, as I
Okay.
mentioned, and he is of the mind that we are likely to have a special town meeting this fall.
Okay.
Because there's some other issues that have popped up that just didn't make it in time for our regular town meeting, didn't meet the warrant deadline, which is typical, and it's why we see a large volume of special town meetings in the fall.
Yeah, I would think Eric and Sven should probably just plan for our regular timing of meeting. Like I said, you can't really plan for a special meeting.
No, but I've been asked by Doug and Jen to try to get this, if we do have it, this would not be the sole reason for the town to have a special town meeting.
Yeah, no, I'm just so Eric and Sven are aware. It's our normal annual meeting is the April-May timeframe. So that's really the idea of thinking that, and then hopefully if there's a special town meeting ahead of that, we can work on that. I just don't want you to be misled.
Yeah, no, that's fair advice.
I have a question if I can.
Sure. You have the floor,
So,
Charlie.
Yep. So I had seen this project come across planning a while back and was 100% in favor of it at that point and still remain in favor of it. But it's my understanding that there is not a fully executed purchase and sales with the Archdiocese of Boston on this property. And I don't think that we could move on any of it until that was fully executed.
I'll confirm that, guys. I would be surprised if that's not the case, given the amount of, money
I
we're
can-
putting into
I
this.
can jump in. I
Yeah.
can jump in, Eric. So there is a executed purchase and sales agreement. We recently signed an amendment extending the due diligence period. I can definitely, if the town needs, I can provide the PSA. That's not a problem.
Yeah, if it was in the packet, I would appreciate that. Just so that
Yes.
we're all doing our own due diligence. Because like I said, I know that was an issue, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but it was my understanding that there was a delay with that, with the Archdiocese. Is that correct?
Just so I'm clear, are you asking whether there's an active PSA or whether we've, I guess whether we've purchased the property?
So you have not purchased the property, but
No.
there is an active purchase and
Yes.
sales agreement with the
Yes, there is.
Archdiocese, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
One thing I would do, okay. When you submit the pre-app, this is just some advice, because I know you're noting historical on this, but I would keep the request to community housing.
So just check that as community housing box.
That's what you guys are doing. We have full leeway to act on that. If you add historical, it's going to add additional requirements. And I know you're already under a ton of requirements.
Okay.
But I would just, you didn't check it here, just on the pre-app, match it.
I gotcha. As long as it doesn't take us out of the race or anything. I mean, if we gotta do a little more work, we'll do it, just to give us the best chance possible,
Yeah, and I'll be frank, we don't see a lot of community housing requests come across this board. It is one of our more full accounts.
And it also is something the town needs.
It is. And again, I can't stress enough how much I appreciate that this is 100% affordable.
Yeah, I like I said, I saw this come across planning and I was excited about it. The project looks great. One of the other quick questions for Eric and Sven is has the lot been subdivided yet? Because I know that lot's going to have to be subdivided because of the fact of the property. The school is actually still on the property of the church.
Yes, so there is an A&R plan that we're going to be submitting. Usually the lead on this project would be Jennifer Connolly. So you may have spoken with her before.
I have.
Yeah, so I know she was working on that. We have an A&R plan that was to be presented. Let me pull up the project track real quick. May have a date as to when they were planning to do that, but I know there's an A&R plan that was finalized.
I mean, those are the things that are just going to have to be all kind of in place. You have a very impressive application here, but it's those little things that are gonna hold you up.
So
I would say typically we would do that. We would do the subdivision at the time of at the time we purchase it. That's, because often the seller does not want the subdivision unless the deal goes through. But maybe in this case, it doesn't matter.
Well, and the deal doesn't really go through if there's no subdivision.
So my last.
Oh, yeah,
my
no, it's a
last
total,
notes-
total escrow item. It's a total, chicken or egg thing. So it goes to the lawyers to hold,
So it seems like they've finalized the paperwork for the ANR submission. It's, they're looking to put it in with the May planning board meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
This project has nothing to do across the street from the church. I think it was the old housing for the nuns.
I don't think so, Tom. I think it is
No.
just the former Holy Family Elementary School.
Okay.
Yes.
Just
I'm on the
that
historic
building.
commission, so that's why I automatically ask about that. 'Cause we think it's a nice building, but right now it's I don't know.
Derelict.
It's probably going to get torn down before it gets fixed up, unfortunately.
It's a shame, but no, so unfortunately, it's not within the scope of our project.
It
Any
is a
other
very thorough
questions?
application.
Really is.
All
Better
right.
than ones I put forth.
Yeah, so you got Board of Selectmen, signed by Chairman Michael Hoffman. Sorry, Select Board now. Chair of the Select Board, Michael Laughlin. We have the State Historic Preservation. Oh, no, this is James Paul, so head of the Historical Commission, in favor. We have Senator John Keenan in favor. We have Representative David DeCoste in favor. You have the Historic Preservation Certification application and amendment information here. We have the Mass Historic Commission review. This looks like they're asking for some additional keeping things in place that I guess didn't meet, so they asked you to resubmit on that. I assume you're meeting that.
Like all historic projects, our windows will be really nice and very historically accurate.
Yeah, period correct, right? Is that the term we use?
Yeah.
Secretary of
We may
State.
get the double pane. That's about the one thing they give,
Yeah, yeah. Secretary of State is on board with this. William Galvin. We got a number of items from Bill Galvin. Water commissioners. This was interesting to me. That this was previously approved for water hookup 4 units back in June of 2000. I was wondering how you guys were getting around that. But it seems that there was precedent set because this was approved back in June of 2000. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, I think a lot of those projects that were already approved, they had to honor those.
Yep.
But I know going forward, that might become an issue.
Sven, before we let you guys go for now, did you end up finding any drawings that we could share real quick?
So I have very expansive plans and specs. So there are architectural drawings. If you'd like to see those, I can pull up.
Yeah, that'd be good just to go through briefly.
Yeah. give me
Nothing too in
one moment.
detail, we don't need to go down to the electrical detail, but let me make you a co-host again
Yes.
and I will stop.
Computer's running a little slow. That's why I'm struggling.
And if not, if we can't make it happen now, when you guys come back, if you want to drop a couple of renderings into PDF, and then I can present it at your next showing. While Sven pulls that up, do any of the committee members have any additional thoughts or questions?
So let me.
Like you said, sounds like all their Ts are crossed and Is are dotted for sure, as far as the application goes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is, the NeighborWorks project was very detailed as well. So love to see the housing projects coming through, very detailed.
what I would like to do is, because I have full plans and specs here, and it's gonna be very tedious to go through.
Yeah, that's
What I'd
fine.
like to do was put, I'd like to put some renderings together, some actual concept plans, some floor plans that'll give you, a really good idea of what the building will look like. I know there's renderings of what they're planning to do with the landscaping. Again, both Eric and I came onto this project when it was already kind of up and running. So I'm looking for the pieces that, but yes, I think that's a good idea. I just don't want to bore everyone going through 80 pages of
No, that's fine. We have a lot more to
Actual-
cover tonight.
drawings. So, yeah, I think, that's a good idea. I'll put something together for the board.
That's fine. And so I'm just going to recap here with recommendations here is get the pre-app in, get the addendum with the updated numbers. Charlie requested that you submit updated purchase and sale in the addendum. And then if you could get those renderings over to me, and we'll have you guys back at that point, and we'll, with the idea that we'll take a vote at that time. Does that sound good?
Sound good? Great.
All right, any parting, the committee, do you have anything else before we let these guys go?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you very
Yes.
much. We appreciate it.
Appreciate everyone's time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
You too.
Steve,
Joe,
I'm having trouble with the audio. Sounds like you're in the echo chamber. How do I fix it?
is anyone else experiencing me weird? All
No,
right.
no, maybe just be Joe. Joe,
Yeah.
No, you break up sometimes when you're talking.
Yeah, it sounds like a network connection issue. Are you on your Wi-Fi? Or are you on cellular?
I'm on Wi-Fi. I logged off, tried coming back in on phone, and I couldn't either.
Let me do this. Let me send you the direct phone link so you can dial in.
Yes, because it's very difficult to follow conversation here.
That's fair. Let me do that right now. And we'll pause until we get you back.
Thank you.
Because I know Pete needs to leave. Pete, when do you have to leave by?
I've got probably about 20 minutes, Steve.
Great. It looks like we'll keep a quorum.
So I have to log out and come back in, right?
Yeah, close this and then call in.
Thank you.
While he's doing that, I will share my screen again. Go back to our agenda. I will also put a new window here. Prep work for our next item, which is the town of Whitman land. Beach Street. Think. It's this land here. Right. That's McCarthy. So that's the trailer park, North River School. So yeah, it's this parcel here. Good.
I'm back.
All right, welcome back. You hear us all right?
I can hear you. Now I have no video.
That's okay. You have most of this. And the Whitman town land. So I did, I'm going to open this by saying town of Whitman had I didn't share my screen yet. Oh, good. The town of Whitman had a town meeting the same night we did. There, and on that town meeting was an article, two-part article. The first part was to accept the old Girl Scout camp, the Alice something Girl Scout camp that was donated to them in the 80s. They never formally accepted it. But they've been acting as if they had. It was just kind of a procedural thing that never happened. The second part was a clause that would allow them to sell the Rockland parcel to the town of Rockland, or to sell or lease it to a non-government organization for recreational use. The citizens asked, and then there was a motion to add a change B to make it conservation land. Question was asked of their town attorney whether or not they could actually declare land outside of their town borders as conservation land, and could their conservation department have jurisdiction. They asked for to table the article until their town attorney could review the information. They then came back a little bit later, and the attorney advised that based on her 20-minute look into this, that it was unlikely, or at least problematic, for the town's conservation commission to have jurisdiction. So that motion was voted down. There was another motion made. There was a couple of motions made, but really the final motion, which did get passed, the amended motion, was to strike clause B from the article and to only just accept the land. And that's where this stands. There is interest in the town of Whitman to keep this recreation land and to preserve it and do the right thing based on the deed that's out there that requires this to be perpetually used. It's very, very much like our Major Reed land that we talked about a couple of times, just a lot larger, and it had a little bit of a different use, but really a lot of the same language, that they want it to be recreation land. So right now the town owns it, but there is interest in collaborating, at a minimum, collaborating with the town of Rockland on this parcel, which I think is a great first step. I know Open Space Committee's been in discussions with their counterparts over there. I know Doug's been in, Doug Lapp, our town administrator, has been in conversations with his counterpart over there. And I may reach out to the CPC chair to just start conversations as well. What I think might be best for this is to have a really collaborative approach. I think it's the best way forward. And I think it'll make both the citizens of the town of Rockland and the town of Whitman very happy. Allow us to coordinate on the use of this site going forward, and to make sure it meets the wishes of the deed. I think within the town of Rockland, there's opportunity for us to offer some funding. If we can vote to take that parcel of land, get it in a trust, their side, they can do the same. And then we work together. And so it's not just one town trying to fund the whole thing. And I think we could do something very special there. And I know that's the goal of Donald Kahn, who's the head of Open Space. I know Doug Lapp is very favorable to that too. And I know the DPW is in Whitman is looking at the same in their conservation team. So that's my thoughts on it. But I want to turn it over to you guys. If you had a chance to watch that, or if you have any other insight on this property.
Steve, I watched most of that this morning, and my concern is when that was given to them as a gift, it was the intention of the owner for a girls' camp. Is there any way that can still happen?
So no, Joe, that's what it was. It was a Girl Scout camp. And it was, if at any point the Girl Scouts no longer wanted to use that space, that it would go to the town of Whitman as recreation land.
Okay, so the wish of the landowners has passed, and now it's become a land use.
Right. And it's funny, if you listen to that, they bring up the Plain Street. So we did Carey Street, right? We have the Major Reed, we have Plain Street parcel.
Yeah.
They brought up the skating rink in Rockland as a
Yes.
potential barrier, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, they brought up the lawsuit, and they voted against the town doing that. lose everybody?
No, I'm taking notes. If anyone else has thoughts, please feel free to share them.
I get nervous when I don't hear
know.
nothing.
I
think
haven't had a chance to watch the video. Where is there an estimate on what the cost is? For the
So
project?
it's very interesting because in that video, there was an ask like, oh, town, would the town of Rockland pay for it? And the town administrator said he had talked to someone in the town because he heard about McCarthy Farm. Would they be willing to spend a similar amount of money on this parcel, and was told no. And I don't know who that person was. And considering that it never came to us as a request and our thoughts weren't made, I think that was bad advice. Because I think we would be willing to do something similar.
Yeah, or misinformation, typical town
Yep.
meeting misinformation.
That's true too. That's true too. It was interesting though, it was their town administrator that said it though. That's why I was a little shocked.
Maybe a question for Doug.
Yeah. But it could be just negotiation tactic. Who knows?
They haven't pursued their CPA options, correct?
They did.
Oh,
So they codified that at the town meeting too. They had a CPA setup. So I think they did it before, but they didn't go through and add to the bylaws. So I don't think they did it fully, but they had funding articles already in there too. Assuming that those couldn't go through if the change to the bylaws didn't happen. I'm not sure. I don't know I wish we had Derek here tonight to answer that because you know that better than any of us. But they did codify that. So they have full CPA over there now too.
Yeah, I haven't had the chance to watch the video, but I saw your note. I read through it. And I agree with everything you said, Steve. I mean, obviously we're looking to get land. We're looking to, preserve land.
Mhm.
And if this is an opportunity to purchase it or work with Whitman to, make it into good recreational space or something, or open space, I think it's a great opportunity. So.
Right. Crosstown collaboration, I think, would be huge with this.
Yeah.
It would open up, I think, so and it's hard to see, guys, I know, but I'm sharing Google Maps. This is the McCarthy parcel, and it does connect right here, right at the corner.
Hmm.
So we could get passed through there, and then you go back up here, and I believe we have all of. This is the land that the Yule pathway, I'm
Yes.
saying, lack of
Yeah.
better word,
The
the
old trail.
walking path, yeah. I'm not sure I've never been down there, so I don't know where that wraps around. I assume it must cut
think it-
through here
I
and
think
back.
it just does a loop though and comes back.
Okay. Because I know this is the Standpipe Drive condos actually own a lot of that land behind there, so there must be some kind of agreement there. And then we already own the Beach Saint Conservation. So, and I know that's the open spaces goal, is they want that ring of green, that emerald necklace around Rockland. I would like to see a little bit more of active recreation on this parcel if we could. McCarthy is full conservation. We have the Beach Street is the Saint Conservation Land is full conservation. I would love to see a little bit, not too intrusive, but a little bit more of active recreation in that part of town, because we don't really have a lot over there. And that would be nice to see.
I would second
I
that.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
as
agree
well.
with that too.
I'm 100% on board with that, Steve.
Seems pretty worthwhile.
It's 20-something acres, I believe, in the Rockland side.
I
and
have
10
the parcel card. Hold on.
10 in Whitman, I think. I want to say 24 and 10.
Yeah, I don't know how they split it out here. I think he said it's like 30, somewhere between 25 and 30 acres on the Rockland side. It's smaller than McCarthy, for sure. That was like 36 acres. So I feel like it's
haven't figured
25,
out how-
30.
still haven't figured out how to get out there. Someone's gonna have to take me for a tour.
Oh, at McCarthy?
No, on this parcel that we're talking about.
Yeah, so the
Cool.
entrance, the official entrance is on the Whitman side. You can, as I did when I was a kid, cut through from the condos, but you kind of have to walk through someone's backyard to get there. You could park at McCarthy and walk up the street and in through the woods. I mean, that is, but it's pretty hairy coming in that way. But the old Girl Scout, a lot of those buildings are still standing, is my understanding. I haven't been out there in almost 20 years. And they were standing then. There was no doors and windows at the time. They were just wood structures. So I imagine if we might have to take those down, but I know at McCarthy, we got some variants to keep some of them up. So I'm not sure. We'd have to dig into that. But I do
You
like
think
that. Good.
You think we can set up a tour? Coming in from the Whitman side?
Sure. Sure. Like I said, let me talk to I'm going to reach out to their chair of CPA and start to get his thoughts, and maybe we could do a walkthrough there. I think that would be good. And if not, I'm willing to take that walk anyway. Like I said, it's been 20 years since I've been out there. It would be nice to see again. And
I'm
know,
here for it.
yeah, find a nice nice day to go do that.
So what was this, just for information?
The rest of these topics are just discussion items. We don't need to take any action on them. But starting to broach the subject so we can start to think. I wanted to try to do that a bit more often. Is a lot of times we kind of just do standard business this time of year, and we're not, or we do updates of existing projects, which is great. But I want to do more forward thinking stuff like, okay, what are we going to try to do next? Especially if we have a year like last year where we didn't get much in the way of submissions. And so if we have to be the ones to submit most of the articles, I would like to do what the townspeople voted CPA to do, and that's to preserve the community through these guidelines and making sure we're moving forward and continuously doing this. Because one of the questions I always get, especially at finance committee, is why is the accounts getting so high? Why are you letting it get so high? And when it gets to a certain amount, can we stop it? And I have to explain every year, no, we're at our minimum. And if we stop it, it means we stop CPA. But it's good to keep money, to build money for future projects. But I would like to see us, at least start talking proactively so we can go back and say, hey, look, this is what we're trying to do. We talk about this at this meeting, trying to get ideas. And so I want to keep trying to do this and bring up ideas that you guys have. So this was something that I know from Don Kahn and Doug Lapp. But the next two items are things that Joe's bringing to the table. I encourage any of you to send me agenda items that you want to talk about, even if it's something that you don't think might need it, or it might, and we just want to talk through it. Bring them to the committee to discuss. I think that's a great use of our time.
Steve-O,
You got to go?
I've got about 3 minutes, yeah.
All right. Well, Pete, you enjoy yourself. We still have quorum, so we don't need to stop. And I'll make a note that you left at 8:10.
All right, thanks, and I'll have Joe fill me in tomorrow.
Yeah, great. And again, this will be on YouTube, and if you need to watch it, and I'll be in touch with a doodle for our executive meeting. And maybe we can do some project updates. And if you guys want to see any of these items or any other items return to be discussed, let me know ahead of time and I'll add them.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Joe, you saying something?
I just said, see it to Pete.
Oh, Steve, this parcel, forgive me if it's the stupid question, I missed it. You may have said at the very beginning. So this is the parcel that's in Rockland, but owned by Whitman? Or
Correct.
is it a parcel in Whitman that Rockland would absorb?
Parcel in Rockland, owned by the town of Whitman, and it's a parcel that extends.
Okay, so they just assume get rid of it.
Yeah, I forget where the entrance is on it, to be frank. This used to all be part of it, Oakdale Farm.
Mm-hmm.
So they sectioned it. They've already sold off pieces of it, but that was I think that was prior to them giving it to the town of Whitman. That allowed that to happen. This used to be an old farm that was attached to it. There's an entrance somewhere out here. And so there's parts of this. And so Whitman doesn't, you don't have the property maps for the town of Whitman. So I don't know where it starts and ends, but it connects. And so there's like, I think it's 8 acres on the Whitman side, but the majority is in Rockland.
Mhm.
And because the entrance was in Whitman is my thought, that's why they gave it to the town of Whitman. But that creates a little bit of a quagmire, doesn't it? And some of this might be included too. I'm just not sure. I'd have to do more Murray's, but I know for sure because this is when I was a kid, walked right through here to get access to it. So it is certainly a nice, really cool terrain. I'm told there's like a cliff face and a lot of other stuff, especially on a beach hill. So really neat terrain out there too.
The town of Whitman is paying taxes to the town of Rockland. on
They are
their
paying
property.
what's called pilot payment in lieu of taxes. And over since the 90s, I think they started, Rockland started demanding pilot funds. They've paid close to 100,000, I think.
Yeah, 98,
90, is that what they said?
yes. 98 or 96, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I think this year's, they looked it up. I think this year's budget for taxes was 6,000 for them to the town of Rockland. And they think it's somewhere around 5,400 that they plan to pay in FY24.
All right, sounds good to me.
All right. Yeah. Any other thoughts or we can move on to the next item?
All set.
Yeah, so
All right, great. Next item is the Reed's Pond property. Next step, Studley's Pond. So that is the cemetery parcel that the town voted in the affirmative to take by eminent domain. That is something we funded and the town voted to fund in 2021. And so this was a vote to use those CPA funds to acquire that land by eminent domain, which was something that was talked about with the trust. And the reason being is that the trust didn't have their paperwork in order to sell that parcel to the town of Rockland. It was going to be problematic. So the next best thing was to take it by eminent domain. And that's what we did as a town. And so that, I believe, goes into effect. It wasn't a special town meeting item, so I believe it's after July 1st. But Joe wanted to talk about next steps, get some ideas, I think. So Joe, I'll turn it to you.
Thank you. Yes, the next steps is either an architect design phase or ideas, thoughts of how to go about this. And I have to report back to my park commissioners because they're hopefully going to be in control of this property, I'm assuming. So I wanted to get a discussion going on thoughts and ideas. My thoughts, and Pete were the ones that put in this application on this property because it's been leased to the town for 100 years. In 2034, 2035, the lease is up. And the town's been hesitant on doing any updates down there because we don't own it. Now that we're going to own it, we can refurbish the place and bring it back to where it used to be. I like to do that, but a modern touch on it with the kiddie pool, the fountain, the wall, the beach area, picnic area, boat ramp, and the farther end ideas about putting a boathouse in there for recreation, for the youth commission to be able to hold classes of canoeing, sailing, kayaking. Did the pond test. The only problem with the water is from the geese and the ducks that they found on the test that we did, what was that, 2 years ago, I believe it was. So that's kind of insight of what we're thinking. I have other ideas and thoughts of putting a fountain in the middle of the pond with lights, so it lights up, and where the boat ramp is, I'm just thinking outside the box for everybody in the town to come up with ideas, but
Mhm.
put a lighthouse on that manhole cover that the drainage goes across the bottom of the pond. That's, an eyesore there near the boat ramp. Just a thought that I've had. Some nice lights and stuff, and hopefully people will use it like BFW, the Legion Park in Whitman for weddings, graduation photos and stuff like that. So there's a lot of options we can do down there and utilize the pond that otherwise residents don't get to use.
I love all those ideas, Joe. I think you're right. That's a very unique thought for that sewer cover, and I think it's great. I
Mhm.
never would have thought of it, but it definitely makes a lot of sense because that is such an eyesore. And I'm all for doing some sort of community boating and boathouse. Even the fountain, the whole park area there sounds great, and I'd love to be involved somehow.
Well,
Yeah,
that's another step that we have to do too. That's why I'm bringing up this conversation to form a committee and get the ball rolling on, getting funds possibly from CPA, which I think this project will fit the needs of CPA, and get the ball rolling, get an architect rolling with some renderings and stuff like that, and get some thoughts on paper and see where it goes, and come up with a final cost for this.
I think a land use study might be the next best step there, Joe. Like like Gene did with Hartsuff. Going through, maybe not as in depth with the public polling and all that, but just kind of drawing up what Parks has for ideas, or this working group has for ideas.
I think it's money that wouldn't be well spent. I don't think. I think just coming up with the ideas, have type of meeting with the public, get
Okay.
people's ideas, thoughts, stuff like that, and get a landscaper to come up with a design, especially for the driveway coming in and the parking. Be able to have, I'm thinking having some type of guardrail on the front, on the wall, fix the steps that were originally there, and have like a sitting area there where people can have benches. Like there's a person that has remembrance of someone that passed away. I'm not a big fan of that stuff, but I want to be respectful. I would like the person to maybe buy a bench in memory of the person instead of what they're doing now. Different ideas like that. We've been approached in the past of the people have died of overdoses. Maybe have a bench in their memory or something like that. Something that's not over the top, but respectful too. Because we can't make everything monuments and gravestones and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Right next to the cemetery.
Right. So, I'd like to put up some
It's
hedges
practical.
or something like that and make that area along the fence there a picnic area with the shade. And then if people want to sit in the sun, they can sit on the opposite side near the wall.
Mhm.
I think an architect person can come up with some type of renderings.
Like a
of how
landscape
to go
architect
about
kind
this.
of thing.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Yes, and we have to figure out how to access down along the pond to get to the boathouse and the docks for the canoes, because construction will have to happen down there, and the water line comes up and down and stuff like that. And it's not that wide a property that we're going to own on that stretch until you get to the wider part.
Well, and I was just gonna say, I mean, I like all the ideas as well, but I would probably lean more towards what Steve was talking about having a land use study where someone with knowledge can actually plan all these little pieces and make sure they all come together. And then we're actually, if we, move forward and the CPA funds are used properly, that professionals are doing this and making sure that it's something that Rockland can be proud of for, years and years to come. Not that it's a little piece here and a little piece there and something here, but it's actually a full plan. So I would just, I think these ideas are all great, and I would love to see this done. So, but I'd like to see it done, the proper way.
I kind of would agree with that as well. I don't think we need to be as extensive as Gene was, but I think that having the experts that kind of envision land and land use is probably the best idea for that. I think that we give them our wish list and say, listen, this is what we want on the wish list. You guys got to find a way to make that happen and incorporate that and make it function like it should. I do agree with that as well. But like I said, I also agree with Joe. I don't think it needs to be as extensive as was for Hartshorn Park.
Yeah, and I even believe, I agree with Joe as far as, we do have, I know there's a cemetery in the back, but, we do have a lot of different monuments and tributes and different things in town. So whether this has to follow that path or not, we can definitely focus, I think, on the boating and the fishing and the parking lot and the access and all those type of things to make it really something the town could be proud of.
Yeah, it could be a real gem. It really could.
Thank you for the input.
Yeah, for sure,
All
Joe.
makes sense.
Yeah,
All
thank
makes
you, Joe,
sense.
for doing some homework on it. Good work.
Yeah, I'm bringing it up.
Yeah, great job having the Parks Department
Thank-
get this through. It's awesome. And now it's permanently belongs to the residents of Rockland. As we said, the lease was going to expire. So, even that alone is a win. And so the more we can do here is beautiful.
And just from my knowledge, because I know you guys have a lot more knowledge than I do of what happened in the past and stuff. So as far as the cemetery itself,
Yep.
What is, I guess, our plan going forward with that?
We didn't take this cemetery. That was a different cemetery that the town took at town meeting. So the trust still owns this cemetery. What we got was this parcel of land, so the parking lot and the beachfront.
Yep.
There's a strip here, but then you see this is like a triangle
Yep.
of trees. We also get that.
Okay.
There used to be an ice house. People back in the day, we used to use Studley's Pond to cut cubes of ice to put in their ice houses, in their ice boxes. And it was somewhere around here.
It'll be where the property is, I believe, on that end.
That
Kinda see
triangle,
what you-
I know, but you're that triangle, right? That's all wooded. It was like down in there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, from that spot to a couple of those other houses there,
Mhm.
were part of the ice house, I believe.
That makes sense. And that's why you get this Ice House
Yeah.
Woods Lane. I think that's where that kind of came from.
Yes.
So the trust still owns the cemetery there,
Mhm.
but isn't that cemetery in bit of disarray?
Yeah,
Stay tuned on that.
yeah. So and I'll just mention it. The town of Rockland did take a cemetery in the town that was off of it's Mount Pleasant, I believe, right? Yeah. This one was not being managed. And so the select board is now I forget the name, but essentially the Board of Cemetery or whatever it is. And they're going to have oversight. They are creating some funding accounts. The town of Hanover's DPW already does this. And so they're going to be managing it for the town of Rockland for the time being until more can be stood up. Which kind of opens the door to some of the other smaller cemeteries that are a bit undermanaged in the
Like
town.
my cemetery,
Which one's yours?
the one right next to Mount Pleasant.
Oh, across the street.
Yeah.
You know,
But-
you should give a phone call to Doug and see if that's part of the town taking over Mount Pleasant, if that.
Yeah. Or maybe it was that one and not, I don't know. I don't remember.
No,
which
I
one.
think it is
No,
Mount
no, no,
Pleasant.
no.
We,
No, it's the big one, but I'm wondering if this little one is
Old Town.
part of that.
we've done a deep dive on it in the Historic Commission, and it is separate, unfortunately.
But yeah, worth
Well-
having a conversation with Doug.
This is gonna happen through the Commonwealth. People turning over cemeteries because it's like everything else. It's hard to get anybody to take care of something after the people can't do it anymore.
Right.
And that's what's gonna happen with Spring Lake and some of these other cemeteries in town. It's unfortunate, but it's the way it's gonna be coming down the line, I think.
So much for perpetual care.
If it's, you know, the towns, it's a state law, what I understand, that if they turn it to the town has to accept it. If I'm.
They don't
correct.
have to. They don't have to. Just same with the town of Whitman and that land we just talked about. It sits in kind of a limbo, a legal limbo. It's my
Then it
understanding.
can be sold in bodies removed and stuff.
I think it kind of goes up into abandoned property and can be claimed.
Don't tell me that. I just bought 2 lots.
You accepted ownership.
Yeah, and I just brought that up, just, you know, obviously if we
Yeah.
do end up doing something on here and there's still a cemetery behind that is unkept or not being managed. Something else we might have to think of.
Yeah.
As the time goes on, but
Yeah, I
hopefully
want,
that'll all take care of.
yeah, I wonder if CPA funds will ever be allowed to be used for stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's certainly, even if they're the deceased, it's still part of the community, you know?
Yep.
Anything more on the Studley Pond land?
Nope.
All right, moving on. Item number 5 and the last topic, another one of Joe's. And I'm going to share with you some artwork I made working with Joe on this a while back. And John, I looked at what you sent us. That was looking at the old oval field, those drawings where the track was. That was the old oval where the elementary school is now. This is pre-elementary school design. I can bring it up too and show you. And what was at Bicentennial was 2 ball fields and a soccer field.
Right, yeah. No, I know. I just, the idea is, you know, kind of flip those, but I just wanted
Yeah.
you to see the oval and the track.
It
at
was a
least
cool
around,
rendering
you
though.
know.
You know what? Let me,
Yeah.
I'll pull it up. It was a neat
Yeah, it's
rendering.
more just for the visual, because, you know, your visual kind of looked the same, but
Yeah.
obviously, yeah, the idea was that wasn't built, and they were going to put new ball fields where the Reed Street was.
Yeah, I'll zoom in on this a little
Yes.
bit.
I believe that came from the AD, Mr. Graziano, I believe, and some other parents and stuff.
Mhm.
That fell through over the years. And then there was a second one that Steve Murphy put in through the
Right.
Park Commission that put the football field going into the Pine Grove, into the Little League field, and the voters voted that down. So now we're looking at this new proposal that me and Steve have been working on, and several other people.
Mhm.
And this will not be a burden on the taxpayers except through CPA funds. The idea is to, what is it, bond it out or funding, Steve?
Yeah, you can bond it out. That was what we're going to try to do at Cary Street. But this is a
Yeah.
cool graphic. This was where the elementary school is now. Which showing the graphic that John sent along right now, Joe. It
Yep.
was the idea was a artificial field with a full size track. If you've gone to Whitman Hanson High School, very similar. Obviously, we can't fund turf fields. I don't think, but there is precedent set with other communities funding a complete capital investment on a new track. So maybe you can fund turf fields.
Yeah, yeah, I don't want to, I was gonna say, yeah, I believe.
But
we
I
can
know you,
fund
I
turf-
know you
turf
can
fields.
do the track.
Yeah,
Can I ask a question?
Mhm.
So this rendering that we're looking at right now, this is currently what is going to be built on the former site of the Memorial Park, correct?
it's
Without the track.
similar, yeah, similar, without the
The-
track.
Without
Okay.
the track, right?
But
Okay,
yeah, there'll be a turf field behind the Phelps School now, but where Memorial Park was.
It'll be a lot
Right.
smaller, so I don't think it's gonna even be as wide as this.
It's just gonna be a football-sized field with a very small bleacher.
Very much, if you've been to over by Abington's turf field, very similar. They have two side by side, so just one of them.
Yeah, so Steve, maybe you want to bring up your,
So yeah,
drawing.
and this is what Bicentennial, the plan there. And so I do think we could squeeze in a full-size track there. So I have two drawings that I made. It's a little hard to see, but you can see the property lines here. And trying to fit this, and this is very close to almost perfect scale. I created a reference, and this is a kind of a low quality, but there are reference
wait a
dimensions.
minute, that's low quality? Jesus, that's great.
But just because you can't read the numbers and letters, but I did reference it with Google Maps. It's like a measuring tool, and did that with to measure up against this 303 and whatever the full length was, 5 something. I did this over the summer with Joe. It's just kind of an exercise. So there's that, and that's a diagonal. Knew it would fit. It avoids this river. Great. And then there's the second one, which is a little bit better. And this uses the existing track as reference. You can kind of see I added some opacity so you could see the old track here. So if this side, because I was like, I don't want to take the playground on the left, right? It's a nice little playground there. People walking, running, kids can play. This runs right along that. So the playground's somewhere over here. This runs right along it. This comes out a little bit, but I don't know about wetlands on this side because I know there is a river here, and I don't know how close that approaches it. So we would obviously need a landscape architect or whoever, a designer, to come out and look at this. Would it fit? Right. My hope is that it does.
Yep.
But I think we need a professional come out and look. And I would be very on board. I think step one here, this is going to be a multi-year project. Step one here is to get and fund a project engineer who does this kind of thing to come out, like he said before with Reed's Pond. We need an architect to come in and do the study and do the due diligence for us, determine the setbacks from wetland and all of that. And I would be very favorable to have CPA fund that.
So would the thought be another asphalt track or some sort of synthetic material track?
Synthetic, state-of-the-art track, 8 lanes. I wanted to touch base with the AD this week, and he's been sick, so I didn't touch base with what his needs would be. So I want to get him involved and go from there, see exactly what he needs to hold tournaments, because they haven't had a tournament since, I think, 2008, when the track was finally shut down, and the MIA rules have changed now, I guess. So I don't know the ins and outs of the size of the track. Like Steve said, the river's there, and then you get the river in the back there. Conservation would have to be involved. Charlie, I don't know if you have any insight on setbacks and stuff like that. We'd be moving to expand the track. It would have to go, I think, another 40 feet or 40 yards, Steve. What was that?
I forget what we settled on. I think it's closer to 40 feet.
And the other problem is they're going to have to do soil samples testing, because when I was a kid, that's where it was all done legally. So people out there that are listening, it's all legal. When we put in town sewage in town, that's where all the materials went.
Yeah, but I don't think you would need to do a test for that, Joe, if that's just straight fill, if it's dirt and rock.
Well, it's not, it's ledge. And that's what the problem is with the track. A lot of that stuff is working up and causing the pavement to crack and heave and stuff like that. So it was, I'm emphasizing that it was done correctly for that time.
So not to look for contaminants, but to look for the, whatever the structure is underground to
You gotta,
prevent
you gotta
damage.
check the geo makeup of the.
Thanks,
the-
Charlie.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. My only thing that jumps right out at me, because I traverse Lower Reed Street a lot, is how are we gonna manage parking? There would have to be some sort of parking management plan for that.
That
Because of, you know what it's like, Joe, and everybody does, to get down there, when there's a track event going on, they're parked both
Well,
sides of the street.
correct. The idea is with the new school, and once they finish the turf, you're going to have additional parking where the Memorial Park site was, where the playground was. So there's going to be additional parking there. You get, what is it, still Duffy Drive, and then you get the high school parking lot, tennis courts, and the high school parking lot for, track events and
Yep, no.
weekend events.
I agree, as long as we, incorporate some sort of, or traffic plan or parking plan, and that's exactly what I would think, Joe. We would use all of those resources to make that happen. I just don't want to see brand new facility, beautiful, and then everybody upset because we're parking both sides of the street.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
No, you got the senior center. I don't believe they would stop weekend use because they're not open, and schools aren't open on the weekends. So it shouldn't be. It would be during the week when the kids have a track meet. It might be a problem until school empties out, but it should be plenty of parking there. Those are my thoughts and ideas, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a concern. I think that's something we have to deal with, but any plan we do here, we just have to make sure that that's included. I think even what's a lieutenant colonel, is that the road that connects to the
Duffy,
school there?
yeah.
Yeah, Duffy. Even if the plan includes some sort of new walkway, that people should follow so that they're parking over there, but they're walking over to here, maybe that might, alleviate people trying to park right over here. So just different ideas, but I think similar to, the other proposal we're talking about, it's something the town needs, it's something that we should push for, but it does have to be planned out correctly and include, parking and feasibility studies and, all that kind of stuff. So there could be other ideas that people, an architect or a land use person comes up with that, helps with parking. I'm not an expert on that.
So,
Well,
Joe,
you have to have the land to have parking, and there's no other land there. So it would have to be the high school tennis court, Duffy Drive, the new parking lot, and the senior center. And don't forget, when the track was in use, Reed Street was always part of the parking. So with this additional space with school, it should alleviate a lot of that issue.
Yeah, and then, Joe, I mean, that's kind of my point. Like if you if you have a direction of, we do have, you know, the new schools and we have more parking over there. And if you can, you know, add an element where people are making people park over there and walking over here, then you kind of eliminate that. Because I just know from walking that Lieutenant, you know, Colonel Duffy Road there, when it usually has a block on it and it's tough to navigate through and people are trying to drive and they don't know what's going on. So
Yeah.
just in my head, that's just confusing anyway.
That will get better. That will
Yeah.
get much better
Yeah.
once they finish up the demolition.
Yeah, so just the
Yeah,
whole
once-
plan, you know, I'm not gonna speak on whether or not there's land or not land. I mean, until I see a
Close.
design and, you know, a plan, we'll see, you know, but it's definitely
and-
a cool thing to do, I think.
I agree. It is a cool thing to do, and I think you could have a memorandum of understanding with the Council on Aging of the Senior Center, and have parking there, and I'm assuming that there'll be a way to walk from the Senior Center onto the new fields behind the Memorial Park, or what was formerly Memorial Park. My next question is, what is the plan for the inside of the circle? Is there any plan or no?
Keeping it the same use as practice fields, game fields, lacrosse, soccer, what it's being used for now. If we ever get back to Carey Street, that will alleviate the softball issue, because we have a major issue with softball. They technically only have one field. Right now, they're using Spring Street for an overflow in Jefferson. Jefferson's going to be under construction soon, starting September, I believe. The new girls softball field will have lights that help with having multiple games in one day. So things are looking up for the town, but people have to be patient because they have to wait for everything to get accomplished. Once this Phelps School is completed, all that navigation of getting around down there is going to be easier. The old access there coming out of Memorial Park onto Lower Reed will be set up better. I don't know if it's going to be one way. I have no idea yet. But I'm not sure how many additional parking spots are going to be at that part of the site, where came in off of Lower Reed and you had the playground to the right. That's going to be all parking to the right-hand side, not connecting the senior center, but we can have a walkway put in, come in through the senior center parking lot, into that parking lot, come out that exit onto Lower Reed to connect to the track. So this way of doing it.
Right, and I thought that was the plan anyway, because of the fact that in the evacuation plan, I believe it's some of the schools would move to the senior center. So I thought that there was some sort of direct access plan through the back, and maybe it's just walking out the back of the schools and down up into the senior center, but
It's definitely through the fields, because
yeah.
they wouldn't want the kids going out to the street.
Right, so I mean, maybe we do a walkway, there, so.
Yeah, this is all stuff that would have to be planned out and accomplished in a couple of years, few years, whatever it would take with funding.
Yeah.
So it's a wish list right now. All we can do is try to keep putting one foot in front of the other and moving forward.
All right. Any of the comments on track replacement?
I think it's a great idea, and this is why I love being on CPA, man, because we do some pretty amazing projects.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I just want to echo that. I mean, I full support this. I mean, it's kind of, we talk about the Don Con and the Emerald Necklace and of that. This is now with the new schools being done and the parks land, hopefully getting spruced up a little bit. This is the one, I think, missing piece of that campus, of that part of town to be And for the sport, for the kids, for the sports. I mean, this is the, like Joe said, we don't do track. They did a track meet at Abington because they can't do it in Rockland. So
And the big thing that we have to promote, that this is not raising taxes, these ideas that we're talking about. This is all CPA funded projects. The only additional tax is the one that they're already paying, the 1% that comes out of their taxes. So we won't be raising their taxes. So the public should be totally on board, and the funding will come from CPA. So if anybody brings it up, that's our goal, not to raise taxes and CPA funds.
Completely agree. I was looking at the what John sent us, and there's a note there, you know, oh, it'll be bonded, it'll be raise taxes, but that's all pre CPA.
yeah. Well, and I sent that because it had I think it was 3.5 million, but that was the double two things going on. So it was a little bit more money, but eventually we'll have to get a price tag on what this would cost. But yeah, hopefully, like Joe says, the goal will be not to raise people's taxes.
The last time we had a price was, I think, 5 years ago, and it came in at 900,000, 750 to 900,000 for a synthetic turf, not just synthetic, the rubber turf, not turf, track. Excuse me, I'm mixing everything up here.
It's late.
Track, and now I'm estimating it's going to be 1.2 to 2 million possibly to do this track. I'm guessing, but every time I guess, I'm wrong.
It'll be more. I think that's fair. More than the 900,000. I'm not saying more than your guesstimates, but definitely more than the 900,000.
Oh yes, because just the dimensions alone, adding more square footage onto the project. You know, other people have tried doing this. This isn't the first time this stuff's been mentioned. There's been a lot of people that have tried to do this, and I don't know. Sometimes I'm just in the right place at the right time. I don't know. It just falls on my lap sometimes. I think it can be done. You know, where there's a will, there's a way. And with this committee, I think everybody is willing to, to try to do this. So I think we're off to a great start. And what I'm hearing on the two proposals that I brought forward tonight for discussion is to get architect design or land use. So I'll bring that back to the park commissioners and see where the rest of the board's at, and form some committees and get this rolling.
Yeah, it's, I think there's willingness here to help fund those surveys, Joe. So yeah, start rounding up ideas of where you want to go with them, get those apps in, and that's step one.
Well, step one is getting the app in, getting the park commissioners with some type of game plan, and getting committee formed so we get ideas and reach out to the public at some type of meeting. People want to attend to give us their ideas.
We have to do that soon.
Everybody has ideas, but we have to try to get it all to fit and be reasonable with the goal.
Yeah, we do need to get
an
information session in before July. Sorry, Joe, before July 1.
July 1.
Yeah, this fiscal year.
Because I brought it up at the park department meeting, and we're not going forward until the end of May with this stuff because we're giving Doug a moment to get his head above all the stuff that he has to get done for town meeting. So we kind of gave it a little pause because a lot of it's going to fall on him to get this out for bids and stuff like that.
Yep.
So we just don't want to overwhelm him too much because, like I said, he's got a lot on his plate right now. time's not on our side. I brought this up months ago that we were gonna do this. And he's there, not this year. I said 2024. He goes, okay. So that's the goal for 2024 for the track. And what we come up with on Reed's Pond is that could be earlier or later. You know, there's no. I think the track is more urgent than Bicentennial at this point. What's everyone's thoughts on that?
And Bicentennial is more urgent than Reed's Pond.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd agree, but I think at least as far as the application is concerned, and Joe, I'll certainly help, and I know Steve will help, and probably Charlie, there, yes, Tom, as much as we can. I mean, to put the apps in so that we have the apps and we can get the surveys and the architecture plans done, and then see where it goes from there. I think that's kind of the first step. So
Yeah, there's no reason why you can't get both architectural reviews, submitted this year for FY24. I don't think you're not gonna be able to see a funding for the actual replacement of the track in FY24. I don't think, without getting those plans drawn up first and the quotes done, because I think there's a lot more, as Charlie mentioned, to do with the geological surveys.
Yes, my goal is to get going at the end of May into June with the park commissioners to get applications in
Good.
for whatever way we're going with engineer, land use, whatever way we go to get those applications into CPA as soon as possible and get the ball rolling.
Great.
Because we can't vote on those until the end of October, correct? We can vote on them, but they don't go into effect.
Well,
No,
no,
it is-
like I said, you could do pre-app now. The deadline for pre-apps is 10/31. We can vote
Okay,
on a
so-
pre-app really pre-app, we vote to advise to, okay, yes, move forward to full application, right? And then full application, the deadline there is 12/31. So anytime before 12/31, we can take it, review it, give comment and vote to move to town meeting.
Okay.
There's no, we have deadlines. It's not, you're never too early.
I was just gonna say that you don't have to wait, it's one of these things we can move forward and do the pre-app, do the full app prior, this summer if we want, and then we could vote on it and have it ready to go.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I'm
yeah,
going
maybe we
by what-
focus on that. And then if we have time, you start doing some Reed's Pond stuff, we get that app in and we get an article written for that too.
Maybe, what do you guys think about having a joint meeting with park commissioners and CPA to get the ball rolling on this stuff, possibly at the end of the month?
I'm game.
Yeah.
Would you want to meet at the garage or meet at town hall? So I can tell my chairman what the game plan could possibly be if he agrees to it.
Quite honestly, for me, the Zooms work out the best.
Yeah.
If we can do that. If we can't, I can make a meeting. It's just with all the things that I got going on right now.
Yes,
Same.
I understand. Love Zoom meetings.
Yeah. Between coaching
Sitting and
baseball
watching-
and everything else, it's got to be scheduled and thoughtfully done.
And we have to find a way not hold meetings on Thursday so Derek can participate if
Yep.
there's any way, because we don't want to lose him.
No, I agree. I'll say this, I don't want to open this up for discussion because it's not an item. But I will say this. We're going to do I forget the name of it. Charlie, help me. The thing where you ask people for what times are available.
Oh, a
I wrote it
doodle.
down. Doodle. A doodle for everyone, for our next meeting, for our executive session, because I do want him involved. It's very important that one of our founding members continues to be engaged as long as he wishes to be engaged with CPC. I expressed that to him. And so we want to look for other days. We had to pay this bill. We're very much overdue on that bill. This is the big reason we had this meeting today. And I told Doug, I promised him that I would get it done late April, early May to get these folks paid for the work that they did 3 months ago. It came across my desk, I think the day after our last meeting, and we just haven't met since. So I promised when we get that done, had to get it scheduled. We got that done. Glad to get the interviews done. Those are public record. Anyone that missed today can go back and watch the YouTube, get up to speed, and vote at executive session at our next meeting, which I'd like to target within the next 2 weeks if we could, and be quick, you know, unless you guys have other things that you really want to talk about. I think it's, you know, if you go right into executive session, get the administrative position filled and continue to move. And then maybe our next meeting is that joint meeting. So definitely agree, Joe. And it's not like I have to be there. We have a vice chair in John that can also represent as the chair if I'm not there in a meeting, to get that joint meeting done. So, and I can always
Okay,
talk,
sounds
work
like
with
we got a
Richie.
plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like we get a plan. More people involved and you keep people informed, things go a lot easier, in my opinion.
Agreed. All right. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second,
You're the first then, Charlie. You make a motion. You're so
I'll
moved.
make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Thank you. Yes, not quite appropriate for the chair to make motions.
Have a good night, everyone.
Hold on, a roll call. Since you're so eager to get out of here, Joe, I'll let you go first. Joe?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
And myself. Have a wonderful evening,
All
everybody.
right, have a good night.